at this question, it asks us to sketch the given function f of x equals negative into negative 1 minus x all squared plus 4. So this is the function I'm looking at. So when you want to draw these types of functions, we first need to identify what kind of function is it. Just looking at the form, this looks like a parabola or a quadratic function. Okay, so it's of the form f of x is equal to a into x minus p all squared plus q. It's just written a little differently there. So if I had to look at the form I've been given now, negative, you can say it's a negative 1 there outside. It's negative x, you could say, minus 1 all squared plus 4. Okay, so it's not quite in that form yet, but it is of the form of a parabola. And the reason why we make the inside of these brackets equal to 0 is this will help us identify what our turning point is, TP, turning point. So remember, when you draw a parabola, right, it has a shape or direction, and it has a turning point. Okay, the shape and the direction of a graph, how do we do that? Remember, if your a value is positive, if it is bigger than 0, you had the shape here with a minimum turning point. And if you had a less than 0, you had this shape here with a maximum turning point. So I immediately go see my a value as negative 1. So I know the shape of my graph has to be this one here. Okay. Then I look for my turning point. My turning point, how to identify that? Well, I need to make the brackets equal to 0. So I need to make negative x minus 1 or negative 1 minus x, whichever way you've written it, equals to 0. I'm going to bring x, negative x, across to the other side to make it positive x. And I see the x value of my turning point is negative 1. So there's negative 1 there. Okay. And what is my y value of my turning point? It is the q value, which is that value there, positive 4. So that is my turning point. Okay. And there is my sketch of my function. Right? And the turning point, label it negative 1, 4. Okay, you can now go find your y-intercept and your x-intercept. So let's go and do that. Remember how we did this? For your y-intercept, you must set x equals to 0. So f of 0 is equal to negative 1. We're going to put there, I'm just going to use this formula here again. So negative 1 minus 0 all squared plus 4. And then simplifying that down, I just get negative 1 squared is positive 1 plus 4. So it's going to be positive 3. And that looks right there with our graph. Okay, so let's rather label that as a coordinate. 0, 3. And remember, for your x-intercepts, what must you do? You must set y equals to 0. So you set that original function you've been given again equals to 0. Okay, let's be smart about this now. I don't have to go and expand everything. Let's be a bit smart. Let's take over this whole term, or rather, let's just leave it on that side. Okay, and then subtract 4 on both sides. Now divide both sides by negative 1. Okay, and now look at this. You have something squared equals 4. So do you agree that something squared, that something inside the brackets, must either be positive 2 or negative 2? Look how smart that is, right? Because you just want something inside this bracket squared equals 4. What gives you 4 when you square it? 2 or negative 2, right? Then solving for x here, I get x, bring it across that side, bring the 2 across, I get negative 3. Or again, bring it that side, x equals 1. So here are my x-intercepts, 1, 0, negative 3, 0. So that is the full sketch of this parabola. That is how we draw this function. So we start off with the shape, the turning point, and then if we need to go put the x and y intercepts in, we can find them using the normal method here. Looking at this one here, sorry about the picture there. Essentially we want to draw this graph now. F of x equals 2 into 1 minus x squared minus 8. Again, it's a parabola. You are looking for your turning point and your shape, and you are also looking for x and y intercepts. Okay. So, for turning points, how do I do it again? For turning point, I need to set the brackets equals to 0, so 1 minus x equals 0, therefore x equals 1. So the turning point coordinate is x equals 1, and the y value is given by your q here, negative 8, and there is your turning point, 1, negative 8. I see my a value here is positive 2, so my a is bigger than 0, so it is a shape like this. Okay, so I know when I sketch my graph, it's going to look like that. Okay, and then you can find your y-intercept and your x-intercepts. Okay, and again, using the same idea up there, you can find your x and y-intercepts. So I encourage you to try that and see what you get. If you have any questions further than this, welcome to ask.